all you space engineers out there. Commander Kingfish here, and I am back in Space Engineers 2. Well, actually, I'm into Marek's Dev Diary, which is where we usually start. And this is his May 8th diary. So, what we want to talk about today is the Space Engineers 1 was released, and it's kind of showing the number of players and the increase when they released the Fieldwork update. Now, one of the things that he talks about in here is how the Space Engineers 1 versus the Space Engineers 2 number of players, how they go back and forth. So you have a kind of a set, right now, a set defined number of players that are going to be playing in either one or the other. So, as he mentions, the current SE2 currently shows lower retention rates versus the players compared to SE1, which is largely because it's creative mode only. So it's going to be a smaller segment of players. Basically, he's just kind of saying they're still committed to the long-term journey. They know that that will increase as they release more updates to the game. He also goes on to talk about a personal issue that he had. He had some lower back problems and whatnot. So he kind of run into some problems with that. And so he kind of talked about consulting a sports doctor, and which referred him to biokinetics, with a fresh perspective. So basically, the bottom line is, and it's worth the read. Basically, the bottom line is, and his takeaway, whether you're debugging code or resolving issues in your body, don't stop at the surface. Dig deeper until you actually uncover the root cause of it. So just something to keep in mind. All right, on to Space Engineers 2. So here is a piece of concept art, and I'm going to dial this back down a little bit and then open this up. So this is a large welder and a small welder, and they really do have that industrial look, which is what you would expect. At least I would expect that kind of look in a engineer industrial type setting. And then I really do like the looks of the wind turbine. I think that looks pretty cool. It's kind of a futuristic type looking wind turbine. So you would expect something like that, that far into the future on what the designs would look like for wind turbines. Let me get back over into here. He goes on to talk about, obviously, Vertical Slice 1.5 is the next big release. Now, he doesn't mention when that release is going to be, but he talks about some of the stuff that they are doing in there to help refine and identify bugs before that is released. So he did some case studies that he was testing. He replaced a default skybox in the game, and he was able to do it in just a few clicks. He also replaced the texture on the default medbay block with a chrome one and added a new medbay block to the game. So it shows as a new block in the G screen. And I'm sure you modders probably understand that a lot more than I do, since I don't do any modding. What he did say, though, is that during this testing, they did discover some bugs and some weird UX issues, so they are getting those fixed. So this is some useful stuff that they've been able to identify. So some of the stuff, he was pulling in a model from the couch model from Space Engineers 1. You can see it right there. And the materials was being adjusted, so they were able to do that. Now, I'm not sure what he's talking about here. Gizmo control of dummies. So I'll just go on down to the next one, because I really don't have any idea what he's talking about there. But thruster with a light and gyroscope built in, basically saying you're not restricted by the entity type anymore. So here they've got the thruster with the gyroscope, and then if we come down here and we click on this, and you can see that you can control the brightness and the thrust override. So you're not restricted to one or the other in the model itself. So pretty interesting stuff. And again, I really do like the looks of these engineers. They look pretty darn good. So if we open this up, you can kind of see what these engineers look like. Again, it's a work in progress, so I'm sure that there'll be some changes, but they really do look cool. I really do like the looks of those. Okay, scrolling on down, he's talking about the gameplay. And so this is an interesting thing. So he's talking about the colonization system and that they've divided the Almagest solar system into distinct regions, each having different unique resources, challenges, and opportunities. So as you complete missions and establish the infrastructure, you'll increase your colonization index. So that's kind of an idea of what I think they are currently looking at for the gameplay. So we'll kind of see how that ends up working out. And so each engineering project, exploration mission, combat encounter will increase your colonization index and would help, I believe, will help to unlock different items within the game. So something interesting to kind of keep in mind. Here's some of the foliage for the shallow water, and that looks pretty cool. So when the water's released, we're going to have foliage out there, and I'm hoping that it's going to play a bigger part. In other words, there's going to be some survival aspects that you might need to pick this algae or seaweed to generate power, something like that. Or you might have some that might have medicinal purposes. So we'll kind of see how that all plays out. So they're framing it as the new space race is what they're kind of talking about. So if we kind of scroll on down, they're talking about backpack building, and there's been some discussion on that, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Uh, Enhanced projection building with the improved ghost block system. I think we looked at that last week. New build planner interfaces, that's going to be interesting. And then a redesigned blueprint system. So hopefully that blueprint system you can maybe put some things together and create a blueprint from that, which I know you already can. But it's going to be interesting to see how much of that will translate over. Let's see. Block unlocking. I think that's about it. So here's a short video on the hand grider particles. And if we kind of open this up, you can kind of see the particles flying around in there. Now, not sure you have a spacesuit that, here, let me close that. You have a spacesuit and you got all of these sparks flying around. Hopefully, your space suit is kind of immune to the sparks, that it's not going to catch on fire or burn holes through it. That could be a bad thing. And then the last thing he's talking about, they've got like a heavy work in progress constructor. So if we click this on, you'll kind of see that it is building away right there. You see it kind of, there it is, it's finished. So that's what Marek's Dev Diary has for this week. So I think next we're going to be moving over into the game itself to view the new blocks that were released this week, which is the O2 and H2 generators and some armor slopes. So I'll see you over in game. Okay, I am back over in game here, and one of the things I wanted to say first off, right off the bat, is this week I am going to be traveling, so I probably won't have an update for next weekend. I will do a update the following week. I'll be at my destination, and I should be able to catch up on this week's update along with the new update that would be released that following week after that. So just wanted to mention that. I'll be traveling, and I'll mention it again here as I close out. So this week's update or block release is these are armor slopes. And so if we look at these two, you have this armor slope, and then you have the mirror of the armor slope, and they will attach right onto the slopes that we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks. So that should help the shipbuilders and the modders out there on their creations on building some really fantastic looking ships. So the armor slopes, that was released this week. The other big release is the O2 generators, and I don't have anything set up on them as far as, because they're really not functional, but the models are looking really, really sweet. So you have the large model right here, and if we, let's see, which one is it? I should have put it here. Hang on. That's not it. Where is it? No. All right, let's do it this way. I know I pulled it down to my toolbar. Let's just bring it up here, and we will find it right here. Reactor, assembler, refinery. Here we go. You've got so let's just drop it down right here. And so you've got a small block. This is 1.5 meter. And if we hit R, you have the 2.5 meter block. And if we do this, oh, shoot. I always forget it's different controls. And so that's the reason I put it here. So let me get out of this, and then we can step back and look at it. All right, so that is the O2 generator, the large block. And if we come over here, you can kind of see the bottom. You have a port there. You have a small port right here, and then you have a large port at the top. And then you also have one at the back. So you have a lot of ports that you can port into this O2H2 generator. Now on the small block, you just have the one port on the back, which is kind of similar to the small block that we had in SE1. So those are the two new blocks, the O2H2 generator and the armor slopes. So, and then that was earlier, that was Marek's Dev Diary going over what's to be expected. So I wish they'd had a kind of put a time frame on when they might be releasing 1.5, but they haven't yet. And they're probably still working out the bugs and stuff. And I'm sure as it gets closer, they'll start letting us know when that's going to be released. I know they're still doing a lot of work on the survival aspect as well, refining that, asking a lot of questions. And I was going to speak to some of that stuff. Marek was asking for input. And so some of the replies was that people didn't, the backpack itself, talking about it being able to make components and stuff like that. I'm kind of not necessarily a fan of that. I think, again, though, I think it depends on how you get dropped into a planet and whatnot. What do you have for tools? So, as long as that's maybe early portions just to make a few basic parts to get to a refinery or something like that to get you by with. So I'm assuming you'll have some sort of drop pod as always, but who knows? We'll see how that all turns out. And again, I'll mention again, this next week I'll be traveling. I will not be able to do a update video. So the next one will be in 2 weeks, which I should be able to. I'll be at my destination. So that is it for this week. Those are the new blocks. And so, as always, if you enjoy this video, please hit that thumbs up. It really does help out the video. And please subscribe. That will really help out the channel. Okay, space engineers, keep your heads low, keep building away, and don't get shot. And with that, Commander Kingfish is out of here, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.